Hello everybody, my name is Coolblue and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about some technology stuff, and today I'll be talking about the Travel Raspberry Pi Lab V3. So first let me go and get the music started in the background so we can get that going. And yeah, so as far as what we have here is we have the version 3. I'm also going to be talking about version 4, which is I'm currently working on, but here's version 3. I did do a previous video about this, and inside of it, if you didn't see that video, feel free to go check it out. But inside of it, there was a router, a Raspberry Pi 4, and a Raspberry Pi Zero 2W. This is the updated version of that particular build. Sorry, and a power bank as well to power it all. But this updated version has the power bank still, and then it has a Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, and it also has another single board computer and another single board computer. This is the Radix Zero, the 4GB of RAM and the 32 gigabytes of storage, and this one is the Orange Pi 02, which has 1 gigabyte of RAM, and then here's a little Noctua fan, just to kind of help with the airflow of this, which is negligible to be honest. And then down here we have the router, and holding it all in, it's inside of, I should say, a Lunchbox, and then holding it all in is some, it's not foam core, what is this? This is I think I've written down here. Oh, there's Plastolite, and just to show how it's all built together, it's Plastolite plus bobby pins or hairpins. So I have a whole bunch of hairpins, and what I did was, and this has like slots in the top, which is actually pretty cool. And what I do is I kind of cut it to size, and then once I cut it to size, I take a bobby pin at the joints that I want and just do that, and then all of a sudden it's a nice sturdy surface. And this stuff is pretty sturdy. I mean, it's all plastic with ridges in the middle. Here's a piece that I bent earlier in an earlier recording, but I'll just try to bend this here. And it's not that it's really difficult to bend, it just takes some good effort to bend. And as you can see, it's, it's plastic. Bending it this way is pretty easy, not a hard job, but bending it kind of against the ridges is pretty difficult. So, it takes a little bit of effort, not a billion effort or a ton of effort, but it takes a good bit of effort. But yeah, but no, it's great for building like little like I guess rooms or something. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But for this, that's what's holding up all this. So you see kind of it all through here. It's this little wall here holding the power bank in place, and then you have the little wall here that's separating the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W from the other one, and that's separating the other one from the other one. So you have everything kind of all set in there. I also have some information back here regarding the IP addresses and stuff, and some switches to turn things on and off. So just to talk about this box, because we got quite a bit to cover here, let's talk about this box in a little bit more detail. This particular box is going to be redone with version 4, but I wanted to make sure to get a video to document what it's in it right now. And as far as what's in it right now, like I said, we have the components. We also have some switches to turn things on and off. There's 4 switches because there's 4 devices, and that's because this particular power bank, it does not turn itself off unless everything plugged into it is depowered. And then there's also like a little window, try to show a window here, so you can see the power. There's 79% of power left in the power bank right now, because I had this running for about a little while. And the power bank itself is a 30,000 milliamp hour power bank, and the outputs themselves, they can power quite a bit. I'll show you a close-up of the power bank in the other build, because I have multiples of these power banks right now. But the other things to point out inside of this build is that this particular Lunchbox, this inner liner here, is kind of the star of the show. This one came with this Lunchbox over here, and everything fits inside this one. This one's just not as pretty or not as fancy, or doesn't give me as many slots as the other one does. But it all can fit in there. It's all pretty nice. I got this from one of my local big box stores, Target, and I added some straps here, but it's kind of messy, so I prefer to use this one over this one. But this is what it all came in. And it's pretty nice, it's a nice lunch box. And I have the plastic liner, which is perfect, exactly what I needed to hold the components and be nice and safe. Nice plastic there. And it all fits inside of there. So up here I have some supporting cables, some cables to charge it. Speaking of charging, this is a USB-C male to USB-C female. And what that's for is that's so I can charge the power bank while everything stays plugged in without disturbing it too much, which is nice. And speaking of which, this power bank does have pass-through charging. I can also unplug and plug in power to the power bank without disturbing everything. I'm not going to demonstrate that here because I don't have a cable near me that I can plug in to show this charging, but trust me, it does. And the outputs on here, there's 4 USB. Well, once again, I'll talk in more details about the power bank in the other build because we can get a better look at it. But I do want to show the connectivity of all this. So this is its own little router. So as a result, it's creating a network that I can connect into. I have my tablet here. This tablet is currently connected to this wireless router, which is called Skull Network. Not that that's all that needed to know. So I'm going to go and switch over the view to my tablet. And if you look at my tablet here, you can kind of see the time and everything when I'm recording this. But if we go into Juice SSH, sorry, let me go back. So I use a few different terminal apps. I use Termux, I use ConnectBot, and Juice SSH. Depends on what I'm trying to do or what I want to do with it. All just to basically access the terminal. Nothing super special. And the 3 different devices we have here are Skull Pi, Rock Pi, and Orange Pi. Just to clarify, Skull Pi is the Raspberry Pi 02W. Orange Pi is the Orange Pi 2 back here, and then Rock Pi is the Radix's, or Radix, I think that's how you pronounce it, Radix 0. So that's what those components are. Going back over to my screen here. I'm going to connect to Skull Pi, and Skull Pi is Raspberry Pi 02W, as I mentioned before. And here we have, we're in the terminal of the device, and these are all headless, by the way. I'm assuming that didn't need to be clarified, but they are all headless. They don't have desktop images on them. I should clarify that. But just to kind of show that this is actually running the Raspbian OS, besides what we see on the screen, let me do cat etc/os. And there you can see the operating system. It's probably not the most up-to-date thing in the world. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But just proof for those who might want to know. And then just to kind of see the information, these are some more of the statistics of it. I'm using GoTop. Is it? Yeah, GoTop Berlin. It's GoTop. Just like more like a user interface. Looks prettier. That's the only reason why I like to use it. And you know, you have all the cores, you have all the things running. It's doing all the stuff. It exists. You know, it's there. It's happy. We are living our life. So just to kind of connect into some of the other Raspberry Pis, I'm going to connect into the Rock Pi. So I'm going to try to connect into this Rock Pi here, and I'm going to do so by doing SSH. So let me switch over. So I think it's rock at 192. Sorry, it's not the Rock Pi, it's the Radix 0, but rock is what the username's called. Is it one second? That's 117. Alright, so there we are. We are in the Radix 0, as I said before, so Radix 0. Let's try to see the OS on that one, or I guess the same information I was going to show. I'm assuming I can see the same thing. I haven't tried on this one. Sure. So this one's running Ubuntu and has all the other fun stuff down there. And then finally, I'm going to SSH from this one into the other one. So I'm SSH chaining, SSHception. Probably not healthy for the stuff, but this is the whole point of the lab, is so I can play around with it. And I think that one is roots. And then, yes. And this one's the Orange Pi. As you can see here, the Orange Pi 02, just so you know, not pulling your leg. It says right there in clear plain text, all the fun stuff. And finally, we are going to do the same thing. There you go. So we got the Ubuntu run on this one. We got all the other fun stuff. Okay, cool. So the whole point of me showing that is just to show that this is all kind of connected into its own network. It's all there. It's all networked. And you know, I'm not pulling anybody's legs here. So that's how all that works on that one. So this is the Lab, as I said, V3. I'm very happy with how it looks. I'm very happy with how compact it is, and I'm actually just delighted to bits about how it is. Unfortunately, I'm going to be breaking it down and building another lab because time never stops. Time never stops. So the other one that I'm going to be building, the newer one, the version 4, which is currently still in beta, as it's still in planning, I have to say, as in I'm still working on trying to figure out what I want where and where I want what. But that's going to be in this build here. And this build is also a lunchbox. It is a much bigger lunchbox, as you can see. This is the top-down view, so let me close this one up. And oh, also, I forgot to mention all the components that I have in this video. I'll try to list every single one of them relative to the boxes inside of the description. So please check the description if you want to know what's what, try to find what where, or just want to know what pieces I use, what components I use. Please feel free to check that out. So this is a, excuse me, this is a Igloo lunchbox. I don't know the exact name of it. I just got it from one of my local big box stores. Once again, Target for me. And the cool thing about it is that, you know, it's a lunch pail, it holds everything, it's nice and sizable, it can hold more stuff. But the biggest thing I liked the most about it, that really sparked the idea, was that one, it has the it has a somewhat hard liner in the middle or inside of it, which we'll look at in a second. But two, it has this little top here, which you can see already some stuff in there. You know, just a mess of cables in there right now because it's not all neat and organized. But on the front you have the zipper pouch. And what I decided to do was I decided to cut out the inner fabric that was in here and cut out the inner insulation, and also cut a hole into the plastic liner in there to basically mount two 120mm fans. And that worked perfectly because then I can bring in fresh air here and then push out the hot air at the top, and just kind of have the whole thing, you know, once it's all built and ready to go, just kind of sitting on the table looking like this. And all my components are there. I know everything is being nice and cooled off. I know it's not going to overheat, or at least it shouldn't overheat, given how much air is getting flowed into there. And I just love that so much. It just looks so cool. I'm happy that it all worked out the way it did. This opening was just big enough to fit in two 120 mils and nothing more. And that just, it's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. I can also use this to charge the power banks. So the power banks, I have a cable, which I don't know which side is free. Maybe not that side? Hold on. Okay, let me just open this. I don't want to break stuff here. There we go. So I can also use this opening, this top opening, to just charge the power bank that's in there. There's two power banks in there. I only have one cable currently because there's only one of them set up. But there's two power banks in there. I can use this to charge the power to them and all the other fun stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into the box and see what my generic ideas are, and I can talk to you more about that. So in total, this lab is going to be, once it's all done and built, assuming that I stick with this plan that I have, it's going to have 8 different single board computers inside of it. It's going to have a Raspberry Pi 4, which is right here. It's going to have 3 Raspberry Pi Zeros, which are right there, or 0Ws, which are right there. It's going to have 2 Raspberry Pi 02Ws, which is this one here and the one that's in there. And then it's also going to have the Radix Zero, once again, how do you pronounce that? Radix, I'm just gonna say Radix. The Radix Zero, and then it's also gonna have the Orange Pi 2 and the router, of course. And that's all gonna be organized inside of here some kind of way. I say some kind of way because I haven't really figured out how I'm gonna position things. Because you have the Raspberry Pi 4 in here, it's gonna be probably the biggest of the power hogs, I'm assuming, relative to what's in here. And let me just bring this out so we can take a look at the pieces. So what we have is a mess of cables, but essentially we have 3 Raspberry Pi Zeros being run by the Raspberry Pi 4. So I'm gonna bring this up to the top here. And these are all just basically plugged in just for power, and they can all be run from there. You can see they're all running, the lights are on, and everything seems happy so far. I don't know if I'll fully stick to this because I don't like the idea. Sorry, let me take a step back. One of the things I want to do is to have a cluster with the Raspberry Pi Zeros and the Raspberry Pi 02Ws, to have like one of the Raspberry Pi 02Ws, specifically this one, I have it numbered already, number 0, to be the head, and then to have the rest of these be the followers for it. So we have 1, 2, and 3, number right there. And then I'll be able to do some Kubernetes stuff, or maybe do some, you know, Docker Swarm. I don't know, I can have a whole bunch of fun with that. At least that's the plan. That's the ultimate goal. But the Raspberry Pi 4 is not necessarily required for any of this. It's just, you know, it gives me a little bit of power. I do also have, I think I have some form of recall box running on this Raspberry Pi 4, so I could game on it if I really wanted to. I don't think I would in this current build because I'll just destroy the battery with the power demands. Although the power bank can keep up. Once again, the power bank inside of this is the same one over here. There's actually 2 power banks at the bottom of this, which I'll show you in a second. But I don't want to drain the battery unnecessarily for just some SSH, you know, SSH mobile lab stuff. I also can just play games on my phone, and I'll be fine. So yeah, this is the current build that I have. This is the current setup I have. This is all connected to a power switch. The cool thing about this Raspberry Pi 4 is that because this came from the previous build, I still do have the ups the UPS that was attached to it, which this UPS is the Sun Founders Pi Power. You can check it on Amazon if you want to. And I have two 32 milliamp hour power cells inside of it. So it's going to give me a total of 6,400 milliamp hours of power. And this is being powered by the power bank. Charged by the power bank, and it's giving it enough power so it doesn't have to surge, and it's actually pretty good. So that means that the Raspberry Pi Zeros won't surge either. And then if it does become too much power, then they'll just feed off this power. So everything's fine. What I'm trying to say, this does pass through power, it does all the fun stuff. It handles it for me. And as I was saying before, I don't know if I want to have the Raspberry Pi 4 involved because it's going to be sucking power. If I want to have the cluster running, I gotta have this running. So I'm gonna figure out how to organize it. The complication that I have, and this is the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W. The complication that I have is that, let me move all this over here, is that down here I only have 2 power banks, and I guess two is quite a bit, but I only have 2. And other 2 power banks, they only have 4 connections. So I mentioned before, I'll talk more about the power bank later. Here is later. This is the power bank itself. I have 3 of these total, 1 in here, 2 in here. And this power bank itself has 4 USB Type A ports right there. And those 4 USB Type A ports have been sufficient. If I can get my camera to focus. I don't know where the focal point is. It's somewhere in here. No, nothing. Is it over there? Aha, we found it. All right, so we have 4 USB Type A's. We have one quick charge. I think it's a quick charge. But these actually, let me double check. I was gonna say all 3 of these. Yeah, all 3 of these push out 5 volts, 3 amps, and this one pushes out. This one can push out 5 volts, 3 amps still, but it can also do more. So it can do 5 volts, 4.5. It can do 4.5 volts, 5 amps, or it can do 12 volts, 2.5 amps. It gives enough power, is what I'm trying to say. And it gives enough power for, so I had the Raspberry Pi 4. Come on. I have the Raspberry Pi 4 plug into this one on that power bank down there, and then I have everything else plugged into all the other stuff. The fans are also plugged into one of these ports, taking up a port. I can probably plug the fans into the router, because like I said, the router is the most heat-intensive thing inside of this entire box, or either of these boxes. Actually, the Raspberry Pi 4 is probably more heat-inducing, to be honest. But I'll plug into one of those things, and maybe I can just save a port. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still kind of playing around with the idea of what's going to go where, what's connected to where. But right now, the battery packs, the power banks are going to be set at the bottom, and they're going to be on under this, and I'm going to have a hole cut out so I can actually see the power status, and I'll have everything kind of shoved off to the sides so I can kind of clearly see the power status. And the idea is to be able to see the power status while, just open this up. Okay, cool, the batteries are good, and then close it and move on. That's the idea. We'll see how that arrangement comes out. I also need to figure out if I want to put the fan grill for these here. If I do, I need to get a longer screw. It's like I said, there's a whole bunch of prototype, a whole bunch of testing stuff that I got to figure out and do. I'm just kind of trying to capture the moment just to show you what goes into trying to figure out some of these what I feel are pretty neat things. As you can see, it's dangerous in there without that grill. On the front we have the grill because as the user do, but yeah, different conversation. Anyway, all that aside, this is basically the build. All this is eventually going to be inside of this. I'm very happy with where this is. I was very happy with where the first one was. It's just the first one has some power surge issues. Once we got that fixed, then it was great. But as you can see, I keep iterating on it, and eventually, I might just break down and just get a cart and put a whole bunch of lab stuff in. I don't know. But all this really revolves around the Raspberry Pi Zeros. If I could, and actually can, because I actually recently got these because they finally came back into production and it was not as hard to get them. So I got all these for the correct price of about, I was gonna say, did I get them for $15 a piece? I don't remember if I got them, no. I feel like I paid less than $60 for all these plus the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W. So don't quote me on that. But, and so that's four different single board computers. So these 3 plus the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, sorry, this Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, I think I paid less than $60, let's say less than $70, which relative to how the price gouging has been going and how the scarcity has been affecting these, is pretty cheap. So I'm very happy that these are finally back and ready to go. And as a side note, I bought this one as the fancier one because I just wanted another Raspberry Pi Zero 2W. I didn't want to wait for the board itself just to come in, so I took a financial hit there. And of course, I want to be able to use my Raspberry Pi 4, which I don't use for anything else. Maybe I'll put a server on this and do some cool stuff with, you know, clustering with all this. I don't know. We'll see. The world is my oyster. But the main thing is that I'm going to get this build all together. I'm going to put it all and piece it together. Hopefully, this has inspired or given you all some cool ideas. Like I said, I'll try to put any of the components or all the components relative to these two boxes inside of the description, so that way you can go look at the pieces yourselves. You can try to piece it together yourself, or maybe make an iteration of your own. The main key thing for me was with this new box, having the plastic liner inside of here, and also having the ability to put the fans like that. This worked out really well, but mainly having that plastic liner was one of the focuses, and also having enough space to kind of put everything comfortably. So we'll see how that goes. But until I get it all put together, until next time, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all whenever. Oh, sorry. Hold on, before we do, let me get a glamour shot of this puppy. Boom. Look at that. It's great. It's great. All right. There we go. Okay, cool. Alright, sorry, I just wanted to make sure to get a nice little one last look at it before it goes. A little sad. A little sad. I could just buy all the stuff again, but no, I already spent enough money. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see y'all whenever.